Have you ever been watching Season 1, Episode 7 of NBC's Hannibal and thinking, man, the way that Hannibal cooks and eats that heart makes me really want to do that myself. I sure wish there was a way for me to do that without committing a felony. Well, if that sounds like you, today's your lucky day. Because today, I'm Hannibal Lecter, and you're someone who wants to learn how to cook heart, and we're going to be making mushroom and spinach stuffed beef heart. First off, let me tell you what you're going to need for this recipe. So in terms of cookware, you're going to need one large skillet, like that, and you're going to need one oven-safe dish pot thing, like that over there. This bad boy. In terms of ingredients, you're going to need a singular 1.5 pound beef heart, 3 slices of beef salami, half of a medium yellow onion chopped, half a pound of mushrooms of your choice. Today I'm going to be using oyster mushrooms and shiitake mushrooms, 1 clove of garlic minced, half a teaspoon of Himalayan salt, half a teaspoon of ground black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of ground allspice, 1/4 pound of spinach leaves, and olive oil and butter as needed. So we're going to start off today's video by preparing the heart first. While heart may not be available at your local grocer, your local Metro or whatever, it's definitely not the hardest thing for you to find. Your local butcher shop should have it. And even easier than that, I got this at a local Asian supermarket. So yeah, not too bad, not too horrible. Not super pricey either. And to be honest, if you're worried about making this dish, heart does not look as scary as you think it would. Just looks like some more meat, to be honest. Mine's a bit cut out. But it's fine, don't even worry about it. So we're going to start by taking the heart, and we're going to, if your butcher hasn't done it already for you, mine has, cut it open. If there's any veins or arteries still left inside and visible, cut them out, cut off any excess fat. This is pretty much down to bare bones. And then we're going to rinse it under cold water. Once you have it, if you see any of the heartstrings or anything inside, we're just going to cut those right out. You don't need them. Heart is a strong muscle, so shout out to the incredible song, "The Heart is a Muscle the Size of Your Fist." This is a beef heart. It's a lot bigger than your fist. This is not a full beef heart, by the way. In case you were wondering, this is probably 1/4 around that of a beef heart. But yeah, there are literally heartstrings in here. So, next time someone says tugging at your heartstrings, remember that one time you made mushroom and spinach stuffed beef heart, and think about how there are actual heartstrings in your heart. If you have kitchen scissors, feel free to use those to cut off the heartstring bits, because I feel like this kind of stuff is exactly what kitchen scissors were meant for. Because, you just get the stuff, cut it clean off, real nice like that. And this bad boy is clean and ready to go. Once this bad boy's all cut up, you're just going to put it on a plate and leave it aside. We don't need it for a little while. Alright, so next step, we're going to take our 3 pieces of beef salami, and we're going to cut them up into little strips. Make them about 1/2 inch thick. You'll probably end up getting, I don't know, over 4. You'll get at least 4 strips out of your salami, little salami bits. Alright, so once you've cut up all your salami bits, grease your skillet, and we're going to be putting these boys over medium heat. Just throw these boys on there. Shouldn't take too long. We just want them to get nice and crispy. Original recipe calls for bacon, but I'm not a bacon fan, which is why I'm using beef salami. For more or less, same heat. You're just more or less heating these up. To be honest, we're just kind of heating them up, getting them crispy. Not too complicated stuff.
A few moments later.
I don't know if you can hear it, but they're starting to kind of bubble and pop. That's how you know you're almost ready. Just look at them, see when they look crispy. Once they look crispy, you're just going to take them out. Alright, so they look crispy enough. We're just going to take them out of there. Throw onto this plate. Blah, looking good, looking good. And then just turn off the stove. We're going to set these aside for now and continue working on the rest of the recipe. Alright, so next up we're going to be cutting up the mushrooms and the onions and everything that is going to be going in this pan in a hot second. I cut up the entirety of my onions in there. Can you see them? I don't know. But I cut up all my onions off camera because I feared that me crying because of onions didn't actually make good YouTube content. But if you disagree with that, let me know in the comments. Tell me, I want you to cry in your cooking videos, and I will take that to heart. Okay?
All around me are familiar faces.
However, what I will be showing you, what I cut, is my mushrooms and my garlic. So in terms of mushrooms, I use shiitake mushrooms and I used oyster mushrooms. I just like these mushrooms personally. I think got a good smell, good taste, good flavor, which is why I'm putting them in. But if you have a favorite mushroom, feel free to use those. If you just have mushrooms in your house, feel free to use those. However, if you don't really have a preference for mushrooms and you want to try something new, try using shiitake mushrooms and oyster mushrooms, or if you can't find those, button mushrooms. Button mushrooms are good too. So I'm just going to get right into this. I'm going to be cutting up my oyster mushrooms first. I'll get my mushroom bowl. So here's my mushroom bowl. Here's what half a pound of cut up mushrooms looks like. Very fun and exciting. And I'm just going to cut up more mushrooms. So that's my oyster mushrooms done. I tend to cut up my mushrooms and actually all of my chopping things really small. If you prefer eating mushroom chunks, good for you, that's not me. But feel free to cut them larger than I did. However, I did them pretty small. And next we'll go on to our shiitake mushrooms. Shiitake mushrooms I feel have like a really distinct smell and flavor. Same with oyster mushrooms. But I'm a big fan of them. Which is why I recommend that you use them if you don't have a mushroom preference. I just think they're neat. Alright, so that's my shiitake mushrooms done. Next thing I'm going to cut up, I'm going to be cutting up my little garlic clove, my single garlic clove, so that we can put it in our dish. And you know, I'm showing you all of this because in the off chance that you're attempting to make this recipe without ever cutting a garlic clove or mushrooms before, I think it's important that I show you what I'm doing. Alright, so once your garlic is sufficiently chopped, I'm just going to put it on this plate here. They're so small, they're so hard to pick up, but that's life, you know what I'm saying? And we are going to move on with the recipe. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our olive oil. In my case, I'm using grilled lemon flavored olive oil. You can use plain if you want to. I'm just using it to add a little bit more flavor to my meal. And we're just going to use that and we're going to generously apply it to the bottom of the pan. You want a good little layer going on there. Next, we're going to throw this bad boy on medium heat again, and then we're going to add our onions, our mushrooms, our salt, and our pepper, at least at first. We're just going to put these in for about 4 or 5 minutes, or until it becomes fragrant, as they say. You're just going to kind of want to stir it around to make sure that everything's there's no clumps. You don't want clumps. Thing that you're going to find with my recipes, this is an anti-clump account. Alright, so once our mushrooms and onions are nice and fragrant, we're going to start adding our spices. We're going to start with our salt, Himalayan pink salt. You really only want a touch, like 1/4 of a teaspoon, that's what we're looking at. And then we're going to start adding more of our spices. We're going to go with our cinnamon next. Once again, we're looking at like 1/4 of a teaspoon. With the salt and pepper, we were looking at 1/2 teaspoon. We're not using much here. We're just going to throw this right in here. I'm just eyeballing it, and there's also not much left in here, but if you want to measure it out, please do. It's better to be precise and know what you're doing than over or under add something. I'm just confident. And then we're going to add a real little bit of allspice in. If you're in doubt, measure it out. That's the moral of this video. Alright, now we're going to want to add our garlic and our crispy salami into the mix here and let it cook for a bit longer. At this point you might be feeling that your mixture is looking a bit dry. Now is when you want to add any butter if you are planning on adding that to this specific portion of the mixture. I myself, I'm just going to be adding a hearty spoonful. You don't have to be worried too much about adding too much of this stuff. And as you're adding the butter, now is when you're going to want to add all the spinach. You're going to want to keep stirring the spinach, kind of moving it around until all the spinach is completely wilted. This is looking and smelling great. Okay, this is going to be a really nice meal. Once all your spinach is completely wilted, you're good to go, and you're just going to remove it from heat and let it sit here for a bit. As this is just cooling down, I'm taking this opportunity to clean up my workspace. I encourage you to do the same. I am promoting good cooking habits on my YouTube channel. Alright, so now what we're going to do, we're going to start working with the heart. If you haven't already, make sure to take this time to cut it open carefully, because now we're going to be starting to put in the stuffing. A nice cut down the middle is what we're looking for, and you're going to be placing the fatty side down. Alright, so once you got this bad boy, and that is cooled down, what we're going to want to do is we're going to be spooning the filling into the inside of the heart. Honestly, feel free to use something like a spatula if it'll help you get this process done quicker. If you can, try to get most, if not all, of the spinach into the inside of your heart. But if you have more filling than you have heart space for, don't worry about that. You can just heat it up at the end and serve it with your actual heart. Alright, so once we have our stuffing inside of our heart here, we're going to be taking some butcher's twine and wrapping this bad boy up. So you're probably going to need a couple lengthwise, a couple widthwise and maybe one lengthwise. And once again, don't worry about any stuffing that ends up falling out of your heart as you're doing this. We're just going to be using it later and serving it with the heart. So not even an issue. Don't even stress. So once you have your heart and your probably very messy space right here, take a minute, clean this up. So take your little bowl of extra stuff. I don't have much extra, but just take this, put it aside, and when you're serving it, you're going to heat this up and just serve it with the heart. Alright, so now we're getting on to the really cool and fun stuff. In this part of the recipe, I did not have any cooking fat. If you do, this is where you're going to want to melt it and cook the heart in it, but I instead am going to be using butter, because when in doubt, use butter. So you're going to want to put a really generous amount in the bottom of the pan, because we're going to be searing our heart. And when you're searing, it's better to have too much than not enough. Alright, so we're going to get this bad boy up to searing heat, then we're going to sear this, okay? Make sure though you just spread the butter on the bottom of the pan, as one does. So once the bottom of your pan is covered, you're going to take your beef part, and we're just going to put it in there. We're going to end up searing it for about 2 to 3 minutes aside, or until it's got a nice crispy coating on it. While this is cooking, make sure to preheat your oven to 275. Alright, so once this is fully seared, you're going to transfer this into your oven-safe pot thing. Alright, so once this is heated up to your 275, you're just going to take this and you're going to put it in the oven. You're going to want to let it cook uncovered for 15 to 20 minutes a pound. In this case, I'm just going to cook it for 30 minutes, 10 minutes per half pound, 20 minutes a pound. So yeah, I'll see you in 30 minutes. Alright, so we're back, and I just cooked that for 30 minutes and let it sit tented for another 10. I didn't show you on camera, but essentially tenting it is just putting some aluminum foil over it loosely. It doesn't have to look nice. This looks like a mess, but that's okay, because that's not the purpose. The purpose is to keep the moisture in the meat. But now, I'm going to uncover this, and we're going to do our first little tasting. Hope you're ready. Alright, so first things first, I'm going to release this from its little tent prison. Oh man, look at that. This, chef's kiss. Oh, this looks nice. Okay, so I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it on the plate here. Oh, look at that. Would you look at that? That looks fantastic. This looks good, and it doesn't even look like a heart. That's the thing, like, you wouldn't know that this is a heart unless you were making it and you knew what it was. But now, I'm going to actually go and try this. I'm going to try this. I'm going to give you my first taste. So first thing you want to do before you cut this, cut at least the lengthwise butcher's twine, holding this together. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get through the thing. Alright, so I'm just trying a little piece of the meat here. I did it more medium rare. If you want it more well done, you can cook it for longer than I did. But I'm going to try this, see how it is. That is really good. That is really tender. It's like just having some good steak. Doesn't taste at all how I would expect organ meat to taste, but it's really good. It is really good. I hope that you really enjoyed making this meal as much as I did, and I hope you think it's as good as I think it is. Once again, if you want to share your meal with me, TikTok's probably the place to do that. Thank you so much for watching this video. Whether you're watching it because you like Hannibal, or you just want to support me and my channel, it means a whole lot. I hope you like it. Thank you so much for watching. That's it for now. I'm out.